Alright guys, what's going on? We're back talking Kenobi Episode 4. So for this video, this will be a spoiler talk sort of discussion on the episode. I'm going to be talking about things I liked in this episode, maybe some things I didn't like. Slap a rating for it at the end. So comment down below what you guys think of Kenobi Episode 4. But here's my spoiler discussion on Episode 4. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to like it. Please subscribe if you're new. Let's talk about it. Alright, so the episode starts out with Obi Wan going into the back tank to where he needs to heal his injuries from when Vader put him into the flames in the previous episode, right? So I love this beginning. I loved how we got to see parallels of him struggling in the tank as well as seeing Vader struggling as well. I love seeing the contrast and the parallels of those two characters. I was really hoping to see a Clone Wars flashback in this episode. That's sort of like one of my main quarrels with this episode or like the series in general so far is that we've just not seen enough of Hayden Christensen so far. I mean, like, why bring back this character or this actor if you're not even going to let him play the character? Like, we see he's supposed to be in the suit, right? We have the James Earl Jones AI voice portraying Vader, but we only got to see one Hayden Christensen scene of his actual face in this show. If they don't do flashbacks in the series, or if they don't have more moments of Vader without his helmet on, or like get to see Vader even a little bit more, I do want to see more of him. Even though there's 2 episodes left, that's it. We only have 2 episodes to get as much of these characters as we can. Now, I know that season 2 has been confirmed, so maybe they're saving some of the good stuff, some of the juicy stuff for the next season, which I feel like I personally don't really want a season 2 from this. I just feel like this should be like a send-off for these actors in these roles. But I honestly, like, I hate saying that because I do want to soak up as much time as I can with these actors, with these characters as I can. So if they want to give us another season, I'm all down for it. So let's just move on. So what this episode is pretty much a quest to save Princess Leia. As we saw in the previous episode, Reva captured her, bringing her to the Inquisitor Fortress. And this episode is about Obi-Wan getting the help of that Imperial spy to go into the fortress and save Leia. So I will say that I did enjoy the atmosphere of this episode a little bit more than the previous one. I feel like they used the music a little bit more here. They're still lacking on really using that Star Wars soundtrack to their advantage. Like, you get to see like and hear hints of it here and there. But I feel like it should be used a little bit more. But I did hear it, more times than I did in the last episode. So I was pleased to see that. And I think just the Inquisitor Fortress had a more Star Wars feel than the previous episode. We were just running around, like this sand planet with like grass. Like, it felt like Star Wars, but like it also didn't. It felt kind of cheap. And I feel like, having this Inquisitor Fortress as the setting for this episode really helped for that Star Wars feel. So I like that. Next thing I want to talk about is that we did get a lot of Reva interrogating little Leia scenes. I personally, at first, I thought it was fine. I thought it was good. Like, it made sense for her wanting to interrogate Leia, even though it did feel a little bit weird because, like she's just interrogating a 10-year-old. Like, I don't know, what are you doing, But I feel it just dragged on for too long. It was like we got one scene of it, and I was like, okay. Then we got a second scene of it. I was like, okay. And then we got a third scene of it, and I was like, all right. Like, are we moving anywhere? Like, are we really doing anything? Like, we get it. She's not going to tell you. Like, can we just move on from this and focus more on Obi-Wan or show something else, please? So I felt like that dragged on for a little bit too long. But I don't want to hate on it too much. As we see, Obi-Wan is trying to make his way to Leia while this all is happening. He finds this underground tomb of, I think, fallen Jedi underneath the Inquisitor Fortress, which I thought was really cool. I thought we were going to see some cool characters, some past characters of fallen Jedi. We got to see one youngling in one of the tomb things. It makes me think why they have that tomb down there. Like, what are they using those people for? If they're using them for anything, or if they're just sort of like trophies, maybe. I'm not so sure, but I thought it was a cool, surprising thing to have that in there. Obviously, it was awesome to see Ewan McGregor ignite the lightsaber again and take out some stormtroopers in the Inquisitor Fortress. I thought that was great. And I do feel like this is not my own personal thing. I feel like the saturation on lightsabers is a little bit too much. It does feel a lot like the sequel trilogy in that way. But I just feel like, when it's dark out, like in the previous episode, I get it. Maybe the contrast of the lighting of the saber with the darkness, it does illuminate this sort of saturated feel to the saber, and and reflects back in the face. But I feel like in the fortress, it was pretty lit. It was pretty well lit, the whole place. I feel like the saturation of that lightsaber shouldn't be reflecting so hard in his face, because we didn't see that in the prequels, So I just feel like, or even in the original trilogy up until Return of the Jedi, The Last Battle, the saturation was never something that I noticed or reflecting off people's faces. All of a sudden it's the most saturated glowing saber ever. I just feel like that's like a continuity error. Like, why just have it so saturated for no reason? I don't want to speak too much on that. So, moving on now, as we see Obi-Wan actually save Leia from being tortured in that little, thing that we saw in the sequel trilogy as well, that Poe Dameron and Rey are about to get, interrogated on. And Obi-Wan saves her. I love this scene. I thought, having the lights just go out, it's all dark, and just seeing a saber cut through one stormtrooper, and then it's just silent again, and then Obi-Wan coming out from the darkness, cutting down the other stormtrooper. I love that. Thought it was so cool. It created like that, not scary vibe for Obi-Wan, but like a very strategic Obi-Wan, where it's like he's getting back on his toes. And that was one theme of this episode, like getting little hints of Obi-Wan starting to get back into using the Force or using the saber better, or just, remembering his old Jedi ways, which I appreciate for them doing that, because that's kind of like what we're all here for, right? To see like that, the coming up and like the, it's like we saw the fall of Obi-Wan, now it's time to get the rise. But while Obi-Wan is saving Leia, we get a scene where Reva is talking to the Imperial spy, and, the Imperial spy is trying to, talk her way out of getting caught in a lie, which is kind of like what she did, I thought it was pretty interesting because, as we know, Reva has those powers where she can like read another person's mind in a way, but obviously it's not strong enough, as she couldn't really decide like if the Imperial spy was with them or against them. So it was an interesting conversation. I don't actually like this conversation. I don't mind it, but as we saw, like that was only a distraction so that Obi-Wan can get Leia out of there. I also loved when they're running away, Obi-Wan uses the Force to stop the water. Thought that was a cool scene as Leia and the Imperial spy run away, and he uses the water against the stormtroopers. I just thought it was a cool scene. It was a cool moment. And as they're running away now, Reva catches up to them, and then they get saved by the people from before, which I don't think they're that important. They're just thrown in here just as an escape plan, right? They're just new characters so that they could fly away somewhere. They don't matter, right? So, but it did excite me, though. Like, I was sort of sitting there wondering, I was like, how are they going to get out of here? And then, like, just hearing, like, those special effects noises of, like, the ship, like, it did feel like sort of Star Wars to me, as they save the day and then they fly away. And then right after this, we see, Vader just, like, storming through the hallway, which I loved. I love seeing, like, that intimidating Vader. And he chokes holds Reva. And I thought, like, I loved the idea that of Vader reprimanding Reva. I thought, it made sense for his character and what he was doing, Force choking Reva. Like, it all made sense. People are saying that he should have went a little bit too, like, that he should have went harder on Reva initially. And I do agree. I feel like Vader should have, punished her, like, really quickly. And, like, he was just choking her. And obviously not enough, because she starts speaking how she put a tracker on the ship. And that was enough for Vader to be like, okay, like, you're fine now. Sorry. My mistake. I didn't mean to Force choke you. You're good. You got a tracker on there? Okay. Like, Vader should have, cut off her hand. Like, I do agree. I know people are saying that about Vader cutting off her hand. I agree. I would have liked to see more intimidating Vader. But that's sort of how the episode ends. And then we see Obi-Wan on the ship, and him and Leia hold hands, which, if you look deeply into the scene, it's nice to think about Obi-Wan holding the hand of Anakin's daughter, which is who Leia is, obviously, right? And it was a nice moment. And then obviously we see that the tracker is in Leia's droid, which who cares, like, where the tracker is. Like, we knew the tracker was there. We don't need this reveal of the droid's eyes being red, but it's fine. But then that's whole episode. So my quick rating for this episode is a 4.1 out of 5. I do think it was a great episode, and, like, you guys have to understand, like, for me personally, like, how I rate things or how I look at anything is that I'll judge the material based on what they present me, not on, like, what I would do personally. So I think what this episode gave us was good. Do I think that they're wasting too much time with this episode? And I feel like it is sort of a waste. Yes, I do. Like I said, we only have 2 episodes left. Having just one episode where, okay, Leia's somewhere, and she's captured, and we have to go save her, like, it does feel very filler. It feels like you haven't really even progressed Obi-Wan's character in this episode. You didn't really progress Vader's character in this episode. And that's what we're here for. You didn't show Hayden Christensen. Like I said, that's one problem I really want to address. And the episode was also 39 minutes, which makes it feel like very anticlimactic. Like, what are you doing making these episodes so short in a 6-episode series? And thank God that they actually did announce a season 2, because if they didn't, I would actually be a little bit more critical on the 6-episode thing that they're doing. Because it's like we need to see certain moments. And I feel like in a 2-episode now, when we only have 2 episodes left, like, it might feel rushed, or I might not get what I want. But maybe I just have to wait for season 2. I'm not gonna say personally what I would have done differently with this episode. But but I would have just had a little more of a focus on Obi-Wan. Maybe his training with Qui-Gon, learning more about that. Maybe him going to Dagobah to visit Yoda, to further get him out of this funk. But obviously we need to get Leia. Like, Leia was captured in the last episode. Like, we had to get Leia. So it was a point that the writers wanted to make to do this episode. And it was fine. Like, they progressed Obi-Wan's character a little bit, and him using the Force more and him using the saber more. Like I said, getting back to that Jedi way. So I appreciated that. But I also wish that we got more focus on Vader. I want like a Vader solo episode. You know how in Boba Fett show we got a Mandalorian solo episodes? We got 2 of them. I want to see a Vader solo episode. Like, why bring back Hayden Christensen if you're not going to use him in a substantial amount? I know it's the Obi Wan Kenobi show, but like, Vader's a core character. Like, Vader's, like, you have Hayden Christensen back. Like, use him. You know what I'm saying? So I would have had Vader go like on some sort of quest, or at least see him maybe do something other than just force choke Reva for 2 seconds at the end. But that's just my own personal thoughts on the episode. Like I said, my rating is still high for this. It's still great. I had this fanboyish, nostalgic brick wall in front of me as I watched this episode. Like, I had nostalgia glasses on while I'm watching this. So anything that you guys give me, like anything that the show gives me, like an Obi-Wan or Vader, like, I'm going to eat that up. And it's only till after is when I look back and I'm like, would I have done it differently? Yes. Do I think that that they should have done it differently? Yes. But like, the product that they gave me with this episode, I thought was good. And I think it was fine. It was a quest to get Leia, and we got Leia. So let's just hope that the next 2 episodes have a bigger focus on Obi-Wan and Vader and their relationship, which is what we're all here for. So I'm just going on for too long now. So if you guys enjoyed this review, please make sure to like it. Please subscribe if you're new, as we'll keep up with the Kenobi and all these other shows like Miss Marvel and everything else that's coming out. So please subscribe for that. And that's pretty much it. So thank you guys for watching, and have a great rest of the day.